I get eager scrolling through endless patio sets, trying to picture how each one would actually fit into your backyard. And the last thing you want is to spend a weekend assembling something that looks great in the catalog but ends up looking like a DIY disaster. I was in the same spot last month, wondering if a higher-priced outdoor dining set would actually survive the harsh summer sun and the occasional rainstorm without turning pink or cracking. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's talk about the Trex Outdoor Furniture Cape Cod 5-piece Parsons dining set with benches in that subtle stepping stone tone. This isn't just another metal frame table with plastic chairs, it's marketed as a forever piece built from something Trex calls Climatetuff, which promises resistance to UV, moisture, and temperature swings. The idea is that you can leave it out year-round, wipe it down with a garden hose, and never have to worry about repainting or rust. That's a pretty bold claim, and it's the kind of promise that makes a buyer pause, especially when you're weighing it against a cheaper aluminum set that you'd have to store every fall. First, who should actually consider this set? If you have a permanent patio or a deck that gets used daily for meals, family gatherings, or even a quick coffee, the low-maintenance angle is a real time saver. The benches slide right under the table, which means you can keep the whole thing tucked away when you're not entertaining, without needing a separate storage bench. It also works well for folks who host kids, no metal edges to worry about, and the surface stays cool enough that you don't have to chase after a scorching seat on a hot day. On the flip side, if you live in a small balcony where space is at a premium, the footprint of a 5-piece set might feel overwhelming, and the bench style could limit how you arrange additional accessories like a grill or a side table. Now, let's dig into how the set actually behaves once it's in your yard. I spent a couple of weeks testing it on a mid-size deck that gets about 6 hours of direct sunlight in the summer and a decent amount of rain in the spring. The tabletop is a thick polymer slab that feels surprisingly solid. You can place a heavy casserole dish on it, and it doesn't wobble. When the sun was beating down, the surface didn't get hot enough to burn my hands, a nice perk compared to metal tables that can become like a grill. The benches have a slightly contoured seat that accommodates longer periods of sitting, which is handy for a Sunday brunch that stretches into a nap. One of the biggest selling points is the color stay technology. After a few weeks of exposure, the stepping stone finish stayed true to the muted gray-green I saw online. There was no visible fading on the spots that get the most sun, which suggests that the pigments are truly baked into the material rather than just painted on. For someone who hates the idea of having to repaint outdoor furniture every few years, that's a comforting detail. Assembly is marketed as easy, and in practice, it lives up to that promise. The package includes pre-drilled holes and a handful of bolts, and with the provided step-by-step guide, I had the table and 2 benches together in under 40 minutes. The only hiccup was that one of the bench legs came with a stripped screw thread, but a quick call to Trex's support line got a replacement part shipped overnight, and the whole set was solid again in no time. That kind of responsive customer service is something you don't see in every furniture brand. When it comes to durability, the term forever furniture feels a bit marketing heavy, but the real test is how the material reacts to the day-to-day wear and tear. I deliberately knocked a spilled glass of red wine onto the bench seat. A quick rinse and a dab of mild soap later, the stain was gone, no lingering discoloration. The same test with a pot of boiling water left a faint heat ring that disappeared after a few minutes of cooling, which tells me the polymer isn't as prone to heat marks as some cheaper resin chairs. However, no product is without its quirks. The set's weight is on the heavier side, which is a double-edged sword. It feels sturdy, but moving it around for a deep cleaning or rearranging the layout takes a few extra hands. Also, while the bench design offers a sleek, minimalist look, it doesn't provide the same individual armrests you'd get with separate chairs. If you or your guests are used to having a personal armrest for comfort, you might find the benches a little cramped after a few hours. Lastly, the price point sits higher than many entry-level aluminum sets, so if you're on a tight budget and only need occasional outdoor seating, you might be better off with a more basic option. Let's talk value. The set is priced in a range where you're essentially paying